Hi, this is Kumar. Welcome to my physical science class. Today we are going to have a look at what is physical science and what are the areas and the topics we are going to cover in these 2 semesters of the academic year. Physical science is really vast. It covers numerous different topics under different categories. But first, let's start with the definition of physical science. That is, what is physical science? It is really simple. It says the study of physical world and the natural world. Since physical science is a science, that means all the scientific theories are tested, and a scientific theory to be considered valid, it has to be matched with what is observed in the real world. We'll be discussing more in the class about the scientific theory, but for now you just need to learn that physical science is the study of the physical world and the natural world which is around us. And the various topics which we are going to cover under this is motion, forces, sound, waves, electricity, atoms, chemical reaction, chemical bonds, and material. Here, if you look at some of the topics, so you will see that the topics like motion, forces, sound, waves, and electricity, they are, excuse me for that, these are from physics. And the topics from atoms, chemical reactions, chemical bonds, and materials which we are going to study, they belong to chemistry. So we are going to start with chemistry first in our first semester, and then we are going to cover some of the topics of physics in our second semester. We'll be doing a lot of hands-on and experiments in these topics. So if you're talking about motion, we are going to study about some of the laws of motion. The laws of motion was given by Sir Isaac Newton in 1600. And talking about motion, let's have a look at a picture. This is going to be really interesting. And if you look at this is Apollo 15 rocket, which took people to the moon. And this entire rocket didn't go to the moon. Only the top part, look here, this top part, which is a triangular shape, landed on the moon. And the astronauts in there, they walked on the moon on that. So if you look at this big tail part, this is having all those fuel which this Apollo 15 used during the travel to the moon. So when it was done with that, it got detached, and only the small part was landed on the moon. And how it looks, let's look at another picture. So this is the small part, a triangular part, which landed on the moon and it returned to Earth. And there were 2 astronauts in there. So this is the only small structure of Apollo 15, which landed on the moon and came back to Earth. So we are going to learn about the laws of motion. And here, the laws of motion which works for a rocket is Newton's third law, which says action and reaction. So here, what happens is this rocket, there are various gases coming out with a force, and in reaction, it pushes the rocket up. So that's how it works. It works on Newton's third law of action and reaction, which you're going to study in the laws of motion. So going back to this, in chemistry we'll be learning more about atoms, chemical reactions, chemical bonds, and materials. So if you look at this, you can see this is a structure, and let's see this structure is of which molecule. So you can see there is one H, two H, and one O. That means we can write that as H2O. And what's H2O? It's water. So this is the chemical formula for water, which is really simple, H2O. But how the two H and O are bonded together, we are going to learn in one of the topic, which is chemical bonding. Excuse me. So in chemical bonding, we are going to learn that how these two H are going to bond with O and why they are going to bond with O. We'll talk more about the electronic configuration and the structure of atoms, in which we are going to learn about neutrons, protons, and electrons. So when you're going to learn about these, we'll learn more about in detail, taking these concepts to learn about the chemical bonding. So in chemistry, we are going to learn about chemical bonding and chemical reactions and many more interesting topics. And one of the good thing about we are going to do a lot of labs and hands-on. There are some topics which are covered in earth science. That's the rocks and minerals, continent, weathers, river and ocean. When you're talking about weather, let's look at a really interesting picture. So if you look at this is a picture of Hurricane Hugo. This is the East Coast, and you can see Florida here. It was really devastating and it was really powerful. Came with a speed of 110 miles an hour of wind. So why these happen, we are going to learn in some of the topics for the weather, and which is covered under earth science. We may not be able to cover a lot of topics in earth science, but some of the really interesting topics like weather, we are going to cover in that. And physical science also cover one of the category is an interesting one, which is astronomy. Astronomy is covering of solar system, galaxies, and star eclipses. Talking about the eclipse. So how many of you know that tomorrow, that is on Monday, it's going to be a total solar eclipse of 2017? This is a picture of a solar eclipse. And on Monday, August 21st, 2017, America will fall under a path of a total solar eclipse. And this is going to be a great American total solar eclipse, which will darken the skies all the way from Oregon to South Carolina. It's along a stretch of land of 70 miles that is wide. So it's going to be a path of totality, which is going to be a really great experience to watch. But remember, during totality, when the sun's disk is completely covered by moon, it is safe to view the eclipse with the naked eyes. But the sky watcher should never look at the partial solar eclipse without a proper eye protection. Looking directly at the sun, even when it's partial covered by the moon, can cause serious eye damages or blindness. So if you want to see a complete solar eclipse, you can log on to nasa.org. So they're going to give a live update about the solar eclipse. So that's going to be really interesting. And talking about the solar eclipse, it's going to be in astronomy, and it's going to be really interesting to study that. So we are going to cover all these topics in physical science, and my goal in physical science is to effectively introduce you to these topics, because these are some of the topics which it's going to give you the base for the next science class. Like if you go to chemistry class or biology, what you are learning here is going to give you a base for the next chemistry class. So we are going to have fun learning these topics, doing some experiments, labs. So it will be really fun. So that was all for today. See you in the next video.